Welcome to Secure Management Faculties, where your mind is key before you unlock what it's seen. Security Dreyfuse. Just to get out of the way real quick. Once again, continuous opportunity. If you want to make some extra currency, look below the description and tap or tab the Sell Your Guns link, and you'll be able to sell any firearms. It'll take you straight to the guns.com website. You'll be able to sell your firearm and place some extra currency in your pocket. Moving on from that, today we're going to be talking about security in Section 8. Now, I want to acknowledge that this specific audio cast will be a little bit more explicit than the others, but as noted, I will be quoting and unquoting, or you would see or be able to sense that quoting or unquoting when I'm going into the application of reliving that moment based off of the characters and subjects in the story. So that does not mean in context that I'm personally personifying the activities or make it acceptable. But one thing on this channel that I'm pushing forward is consistently being authentic to the experience and authentic to what you're going through, because that's what makes it real. There's no point of covering up at this point, especially when it's obviously out there consistently and open view. But anyway, security in Section 8. What are we talking about here? So I was doing security in Section 8 housing. And once again, like I said, this is nothing against people in Section 8 housing or anything like that, but I will be telling the story authentically. For those who don't know what Section 8 housing is, it's basically a governmental assistance program for low-income residents. So, with that said, working in Pontiac, Michigan at this time, and if I can provide a projection of what the enclosed property look like, it's one way in, one way out, essentially by the structure, the way it's designed. You come in and it's pretty much a box shape structure all the way around the parking lot. And as you trace the outer line of the box, that's where the houses line up on the perimeter of the box in that complete structural shape. And in the center of that very box was the leasing homing company, or the head office, if you will. So now that that's out the way, you can picture that however you like. I come in on shift, and it's a two-man post at this time. And I would like to acknowledge that I was working armed security. And at this point, I would call myself armed security guard, because there's a difference, right? For me to qualify something as security officer, that's the next tier up, that takes certain qualifications and training. And not saying training is not provided, but it's all based off of certain applications of approval and how actually effective that is, rather than just signing a piece of paper, right? So with that said, I already brought experience. I'm bringing experience myself to the place. So it wasn't definitely not my first rodeo, if you will. And just to jump in the story real quick, I'm working with my partner, and we split the box up, if you will, the structural blueprint of the property. And so sometimes we separated. I did one end of the box, he did the other end of the box. And it definitely was a walkable property. But the property also was also drivable. So it was box shaped, so it had pavement as far as the sidewalk that trailed around the perimeter of the box, and it also had the parking lot structured in that way. So with that said, we could be in via vehicle or foot patrol. So this particular time, I was doing a foot patrol. He was on the other side of the complex. And so I get a key up on my radio, and he said, "Hey man, I'm having trouble with this guy over here." And you know, you could tell he was speaking in a stern, more of a rational approach. So dealing with this cultural population, which I'm used to, I slide over and I walk over. And so he's arguing with the African-American gentleman. Now take in mind, I'm African-American, so this is not selectively, proportionally making a unbalanced observation. And so the gentleman I was working with, he was my partner. He was Caucasian. And, you know, I've had multicultural experience working with different type of ethnicities, races, and things like that. And also, for the simplicity of this video, those separations will be acknowledged just so the video can reach its full form. So he's arguing with the guy, or semi-arguing, or you can tell arguments about the brew. And so he's assessing my guy, and, you know, gentleman's responding back to him in a nearly escalating aggression fashion, but you could tell he's trying to hold back to the best of the ability of what he can provide, right? And so my partner was like, hey, you're out here with a fucking tether, and this is when it gets to that part. You're out here with a fucking tether. You're not supposed to be out here. You're supposed to be in your house. So at this point, you know, I don't know where the rest of the conversation is going at this point, but I do know where I'm at while I'm there. So I see resistance building up in the African-American gentleman's face. And so he immediately jumped into the divider. And what are those great dividers? We always go back to the man, right? Or the slave type thing, right? And he didn't say anything about slaves or anything like that. But, you know, he definitely provided that separator as far as the conversation and the way it was going to go. And so he basically was saying, quote, I don't want to fuck with the white boy, man. I ain't trying to listen to the white boy, man. And each time he was gearing up and getting more aggressive to each chant that he was saying. So he was entering into this consistent chant. He's like, the white boy don't talk to me, man. He's talking in that framework. So unquoting that. And immediately I slide in right in front of my partner and I say, hey man, just take a step back, you know, positively and productively. And so I want to acknowledge this slide in. That's me sliding directly into the culture, right? So it's me becoming that representation, right? Because I understand where this was going. I understood that he was trying to, or unconsciously going towards that direction that was going to make conversing much more difficult. And so he automatically set a barrier in place, whether it was unknown or known to him, and I had to intercept that. So my partner, he's standing in the wing a bit, and I'm like, hey, just give me a couple minutes. What's going on with you? So I'm talking to him, and he's like, I don't want to respond to the white boy, man. Fuck the white boy, man. In this tone and whatever, whatnot. And so I'm like, hey, man, he just trying to do his job. He's seen you out here. He's seen each other or whatever, and he not trying to cause you no trouble. You know, we got security. We got to do our job. We got to protect everybody, right? So I'm talking in this fashion. And so immediately de-escalation starts to ensue, right? And this is all authentic. This is not me trying to improvise tactics. This is me honestly talking to the guy. And so at the end of the day, he tones down a bit, right? He tones down a bit, and he said, I'm just trying to live my life. I'm trying to step outside. I've been in the house all fucking day, such and such and such, blase, blase, and I need to step out and then the fucking white boy, man. And then he raises right back up to a higher cadence. And at this moment, when he raised back up, as he's confirming, looking at my partner at the time, and also chanting the same language back, he starts to ball up his fist. Now, this is definitely a super indicator, right? Not to mention the veins coming out the fist, that also even makes it even more cinematic, if you will. And so he's getting more to a point where the lines are about to start to get blurry, and we can't confirm where this is going to go. Now, take in mind, once again, interception again by me. So I seen he was looking at my partner, so what I did was I just stepped in front of his vision. And I reached out to shake his hand immediately. I said, you know what, listen, I'm going to go have a chat with the white boy, man. And we just going to do our job. You can sit out here, just air out a bit. We not trying to cause no unnecessary trouble. Are you doing all right? Do you need anything? And immediately, he nodded his head and said, no, I'm good, man. I'm good. And after that, the reciprocation came into play and said, I'm sorry, man. Not trying to give you no trouble. I'm just trying to give me a little fresh air, and I'm trying to live my life. And so he calmed down gradually, and then it sort of faded off, and he stayed in front of his property. He stayed in front of his property on that grass area and things like that. He didn't leave or go some other place. But at that point, this concludes the story and the general interaction. The lessons that need to be learned is communication of language, communication of culture, communication of indications, if you will, right? My partner was definitely set in a law mind state, right? And he may have been right in context, but then we're going to have to turn back and look at the context of what's our position, what's our authority to enforce that, and do we have to necessarily sort of cherry pick in a provoking manner that's going to allow us to lead in other possible rabbit holes that we don't need to be in. Because as you can see, the subject in that way, what he really ended up doing was he ended up summoning all these other pre-existing animosities that he had inside of him about culture, race, and even heritage, based off of the language he was using. And so what happened was we were going down a rabbit hole, and that rabbit hole was going to lead to a possible altercation. Now, if things would have been a little bit more aggressive starting off, like he already, let's say, shoved my partner and things of this in this nature, none of this would be negotiable. But the fact is, this was still the pre-building phases of a situation in context, and it was able to be diffused with simple conversation. So at the end of this, I want you to, anybody who's listening to this narrative, be mindful of your language, their language, what's the barriers that are separating you, and how are you actively participating to make this situation as honest and authentic it can be, and are you adding to it to make a degenerate situation of your conversing conversation? All right, secure management, Falcon teach when your mind is key before you unlock what is seen. Secure Agent Dreyfus. Once again, as usual, I appreciate everybody who have attended this audio cast. Again, if you're looking to sell your firearm, make some extra currency, down below the description, hit the Sell Your Guns link tab. Go to the guns.com website, sign the information, send your gun out, make that extra currency. Again, I'll see you on the next upload, hear you on the next upload. Appreciate all who attended, and make sure you're making your decisions. If you're in this field of occupation, make sure you're making your decisions wisely. Don't escalate the situation. Build up your social conversing skills. And even when the limit hits the bottom of the barrel, make sure you're aware and paying attention to not be adding that escalation. But if you got to be decisive, be decisive. Stick to it, but be aware. See you on the next upload.